What's going on, everyone? So here's something I wasn't expecting to talk about today. Sebastian Stan. Yeah, the guy who's been playing Bucky Barnes for over a decade in the MCU is reportedly joining Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2. And before you ask, no, he's not playing another super soldier. According to the latest reports, he's in talks for a lead role, and the rumors are pointing toward Harvey Dent, Two-Face, one of Gotham's most tragic villains. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Another Batman movie with Harvey Dent? Didn't we already get that with Aaron Eckhart in The Dark Knight? And honestly, that's a fair question. But before we jump to conclusions, let's talk about what this could actually mean, because there's more happening here than just another villain casting. Barry Keoghan is also expected to return as Joker after that brief but absolutely chilling appearance in the first film. So we've got Two-Face, we've got Joker, and Matt Reeves has been pretty vocal about doing something different with this sequel. The question is, can he pull it off, or are we heading into familiar territory? Let's break this down. First, let's talk about Sebastian Stan himself. This guy has serious range, and I think people sometimes forget that because we're so used to seeing him as Bucky. But if you've been paying attention to his recent work, you know he's been stepping way outside the superhero comfort zone. He played a cannibal in Fresh, which was genuinely disturbing, by the way. He was incredible in A Different Man, tackling a role that required serious emotional depth. And then there's The Apprentice, where he portrayed Donald Trump and actually earned Oscar buzz for it. Love him or hate him, Stan proved he could embody a controversial, complex figure with nuance. So when you look at Harvey Dent, a character who's all about duality, moral corruption, and tragic downfall, Stan actually makes a lot of sense. He's got the dramatic chops to pull off both sides of the character, the idealistic district attorney who believes in justice, and the scarred, vengeful Two-Face who becomes what he once fought against. That transformation requires an actor who can navigate both extremes convincingly, and based on what we've seen from Stan lately, he might just be the right fit. But here's where I'm a little cautious. Harvey Dent has been done before, and done extremely well. Aaron Eckhart's performance in The Dark Knight set a pretty high bar, and Christopher Nolan's version of that story felt definitive in a lot of ways. So the question becomes, what can Matt Reeves do differently? How do you tell this story in a way that doesn't feel like we're just retreading old ground? And more importantly, how do you make it feel fresh when audiences have already seen this character's arc play out in one of the most acclaimed superhero films ever made? Now, let's talk about Barry Keoghan coming back as Joker. If you remember the first Batman film, Keegan's appearance was brief but unforgettable. That deleted scene where he's talking to Batman through the glass at Arkham, absolutely chilling. His take on the Joker felt genuinely unsettling. Not theatrical like Jack Nicholson, not chaotic like Heath Ledger, not flamboyant like Joaquin Phoenix. This felt raw, almost diseased, like someone whose mind had completely fractured. The first movie ended with a pretty clear setup. Riddler's in Arkham, he's making friends with Joker, and it seemed like Reeves was teasing some kind of alliance or team-up between Gotham's most dangerous inmates. That's a fascinating concept, and honestly, it felt different from what we'd seen before. But now, with reports suggesting both Joker and Two-Face will be in the sequel, I'm starting to wonder if we're getting a different story than what that ending promised. And look, I get it. The Joker is Batman's most iconic villain. He's the Lex Luthor to Superman, the Green Goblin to Spider-Man. You almost can't tell Batman stories without eventually involving the Joker in some capacity. But, and this is a big but, we've seen a lot of Joker recently. Like, a lot. Between Heath Ledger's legendary performance, Jared Leto's controversial take, Joaquin Phoenix's 2 films, and now Keegan's version, we've had 4 different Jokers in less than 20 years. So there's a part of me that wonders if audiences might be experiencing a bit of Joker fatigue. That said, if anyone can make it work, it's probably Matt Reeves. The first film proved he could take familiar elements and make them feel grounded and fresh. His Gotham felt lived in and real. His Batman felt vulnerable and still figuring things out. So maybe he's got a plan here that we're not seeing yet. This brings us to something really interesting that Matt Reeves said last year. He talked about how most Batman sequels become what he called rogues gallery stories, where the focus shifts to parading different villains across the screen, while Batman himself becomes more of a reactive presence. But Reeves specifically said he never wanted to lose Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne at the center of these stories. That's actually really important, because it suggests the sequel isn't just about checking off villain boxes. It's still fundamentally about Bruce's journey. Even more intriguing, Reeves confirmed that the sequel's main antagonist is someone who has never really been done in a movie before. Now, that's a loaded statement. If that's true, it implies that Two-Face and Joker, despite all the buzz around their casting, might actually take supporting roles to a different primary villain. So who could it be? The smart money seems to be on characters like Hush or Phantasm, both of whom have personal connections to Bruce Wayne that could drive a more character-focused story. Hush in particular is Thomas Elliot, Bruce's childhood friend turned enemy, which would fit perfectly with Reeves' stated goal of keeping Bruce at the emotional center. Phantasm, meanwhile, is Andrea Beaumont from the animated film, a tragic love interest whose story explores what Bruce gave up to become Batman. Either choice would allow for deeper exploration of Bruce's psychology while still delivering the detective noir atmosphere that made the first film work so well. But here's my concern. If you've got Two-Face, Joker, and another major villain in one movie, how do you balance that without it feeling overstuffed? The Dark Knight Rises tried to juggle Bane, Talia al Ghul, and Catwoman, and while it worked for some people, others felt like the story got stretched too thin. Matt Reeves has earned our trust, but that doesn't mean the challenge isn't real. We can't ignore the elephant in the room here. The Batman Part 2 is starting to sound a lot like The Dark Knight in terms of setup. Harvey Dent as a major character? Check. Joker returning for a larger role? Check. The promise of Batman facing multiple antagonists while Gotham descends further into chaos? Check, check, check. Now, The Dark Knight is widely considered one of the greatest superhero films ever made, so there's certainly worse templates to follow. But there's also a risk here. When you invite those comparisons, you're setting expectations incredibly high. Christopher Nolan's trilogy was lightning in a bottle. The right cast, the right script, the right timing, all coming together in a way that's nearly impossible to replicate. Matt Reeves' Batman exists in a different universe with a different tone. The first film was moodier, more grounded, more focused on Batman as a detective rather than an action hero. It worked beautifully on its own terms, but if the sequel leans too heavily into the Dark Knight's formula, it risks losing some of that unique identity. On the flip side, if Reeves can take similar elements and spin them in an unexpected direction, showing us sides of Two-Face and Joker we haven't seen before, then maybe those comparisons won't matter. It's also worth noting that Sebastian Stan wouldn't be the first MCU actor to make the jump to DC. Scarlett Johansson is already confirmed for the Batman Part 2 in an undisclosed role, which is wild considering she played Black Widow for a decade. Christian Bale went from Batman to playing a villain in Thor: Love and Thunder. Josh Brolin played both Thanos and Cable. The walls between Marvel and DC aren't as solid as they used to be. But there's something particularly interesting about Stan potentially playing a villain after spending so long as a hero. Bucky Barnes has always straddled that line. He's done terrible things as the Winter Soldier, but he's seeking redemption. Harvey Dent follows a similar trajectory, just in reverse. He starts as a hero and becomes a villain. There's a symmetry there that can make Stan's casting feel even more appropriate. And let's be honest, it'll be refreshing to see Stan in a role where he's not taking orders from Captain America or fighting alongside the Avengers. This is a chance for him to completely reinvent himself in the comic book movie space, and I'm genuinely curious to see what he brings to the table. So where does this leave us? The Batman Part 2 is starting to shape up to be one of the most anticipated superhero films on the horizon, and these casting reports only add to the intrigue. Sebastian Stan as Harvey Dent could be inspired casting if the script gives him room to explore the character's complexity. Barry Keoghan returning as Joker promises more of that unsettling energy that made his brief appearance so memorable. And somewhere in the mix, there's supposedly a villain we've never seen on screen before, which could be the real game changer. But I'll admit, I've got questions. Can Matt Reeves balance multiple major villains without losing focus on Bruce Wayne's story? Will this feel like a natural continuation of the first film's detective noir vibe, or will it shift into something more epic and sprawling? And most importantly, can this movie step out of the Dark Knight's shadow and establish its own legacy? Matt Reeves earned a lot of goodwill with the first film. Robert Pattinson proved he could carry the cow. The world building was meticulous, the atmosphere was perfect, and it felt like the beginning of something special. Now we wait to see if the sequel can build on that foundation or if it'll buckle under the weight of expectations. The Batman Part 2 hits theaters October 1st, 2027. That's still a ways off, which means we've got plenty of time for more casting announcements, maybe a trailer eventually, and endless speculation about who the mystery villain actually is. But I want to hear from you.
What do you think about Sebastian Stan potentially playing Two-Face? Are you excited to see more of Barry Keoghan's Joker, or do you think we've had enough Joker for a while? And who do you think that mystery villain could be? Are we talking Hush, Phantasm, or someone completely different? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read all of them, and I genuinely want to know what you're thinking about this. If you enjoyed this breakdown, do me a favor and smash that like button. It helps the channel out more than you know. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates on The Batman Part 2 and everything else happening in the world of superhero films. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.